Upon leaving him on the night of our adventure, he solicited me in what I thought an urgent manner to call upon him very early the next morning. Shortly after sunrise, I found myself accordingly at his palazzo, one of those huge structures of gloomy yet fantastic pomp which tower above the waters of the Grand Canal in the vicinity of the Rialto. I was shown up a broad winding staircase of mosaics into an apartment whose unparalleled splendor burst through the opening door with an actual glare, making me blind and dizzy with luxuriousness. I knew my acquaintance to be wealthy. Report had spoken of his possession in terms which I had even ventured to call terms of ridiculous exaggeration, but as I gazed about me, I could not bring myself to believe that the wealth of any subject in Europe could have supplied the princely magnificence which burned and blazed around. Although, as I say, the sun had arisen, yet the room was still brilliantly lighted up. I judged from his circumstance, as well as from an air of exhaustion in the countenance of my friend, that he had not retired to bed during the whole of the preceding night. In the architecture and embellishments of the chamber, the evident design had been to dazzle and astound. Little attention had been paid to the decora of what is technically called keeping, or to the proprieties of nationality. The eye wandered from object to object and rested upon none, neither the grotesques of the Greek painters, nor the sculptures of the best Italian days, nor the huge carvings of untutored Egypt. Rich draperies in every part of the room trembled to the vibration of low, melancholy music whose origin was not to be discovered. The senses were oppressed by mingled and conflicting perfumes reeking up from strange convolute censers, together with multitudinous flaring and flickering tongues of emerald and violet fire. The rays of the newly risen sun poured in upon the whole through windows formed each of a single pane of crimson-tinted glass. Glancing to and fro in 1,000 reflections from curtains which rolled from their cornices like cataracts of molten silver, the beams of natural glory mingled at length fitfully with the artificial light, and lay weltering in subdued masses upon a carpet of rich, liquid-looking cloth of chilly gold. "Ha, ha, ha! Ha, ha, ha!" laughed the proprietor, motioning me to a seat as I entered the room and throwing himself back at full length upon an ottoman. "I see," said he, perceiving that I could not immediately reconcile myself to the bienséance of so singular a welcome. "I see you are astonished at my apartment, at my statues, my pictures, my originality of conception in architecture and upholstery. Absolutely drunk, with my magnificence? But pardon me, my dear sir." Here his tone of voice dropped to the very spirit of cordiality. "Pardon me for my uncharitable laughter. You appear so utterly astonished. Besides, some things are so completely ludicrous that a man must laugh or die. To die laughing must be the most glorious of all glorious deaths. Sir Thomas More, a very fine man was Sir Thomas More. Sir Thomas More died laughing, you remember. Also, in the absurdities of Ravisius Textor, there is a long list of characters who came to the same magnificent end. Do you know, however," continued he musingly, "that at Sparta, which is now Palaiochori, at Sparta, I say, to the west of the citadel, among a chaos of scarcely visible ruins, is a kind of socle, upon which are still legible the letters delta, alpha, sigma, meta? They are undoubtedly part of RE, delta, alpha, sigma, meta, alpha. Now, at Sparta were 1,000 temples and shrines to 1,000 different divinities. How exceedingly strange that the altar of laughter should have survived all the others. But in the present instance," he resumed, with a singular alteration of voice and manner, "I have no right to be merry at your expense. You might well have been amazed. Europe cannot produce anything so fine as this, my little regal cabinet. My other apartments are by no means of the same order, mere ultras of fashionable insipidity. This is better than fashion, is it not? Yet this has but to be seen to become the rage. that is, with those who could afford it, at the cost of their entire patrimony. I have guarded, however, against any such profanation, with one exception. You are the only human being besides myself and my valet who has been admitted within the mysteries of these imperial precincts since they have been bedizened, as you see. I bowed in acknowledgment, for the overpowering sense of splendor and perfume and music, together with the unexpected eccentricity of his address and manner, prevented me from expressing in words my appreciation of what I might have construed into a compliment. Here, he resumed, arising and leaning on my arm as he sauntered around the apartment. Here are paintings from the Greeks to Cimabue, and from Cimabue to the present hour. Many are chosen, as you see, with little deference to the opinions of virtue. They are all, however, fitting tapestry for a chamber such as this. Here, too, are some chefs d'oeuvres of the unknown great, and here unfinished designs by men celebrated in their day, whose very names the perspicacity of the academies has left to silence and to me. What think you, said he, turning abruptly as he spoke, what think you of this Madonna della Pieta? It's Guido's own, I said, with all the enthusiasm of my nature, for I had been poring intently over its surpassing loveliness. It's Guido's own. How could you have obtained it? She is undoubtedly in painting what the Venus is in sculpture. Ah, said he, thoughtfully, the Venus? The beautiful Venus? The Venus of the Medici? She of the diminutive head and the gilded hair? Part of the left arm, here his voice dropped so as to be heard with difficulty, and all the right, are restorations, and in the coquetry of that right arm lies, I think, the quintessence of all affectation. Give me the Canova. The Apollo, too, is a copy. There can be no doubt of it. Blind fool that I am, I cannot behold the boasted inspiration of the Apollo. I cannot help, pity me, I cannot help preferring the Antinous. Was it not Socrates who said that the statuary found his statue in the block of marble? The Michelangelo was by no means original in his couplet, Non ha l'ottimo artista alcun concetto, che un marmo solo in se non circonscriva.